Hi, I'm Donna, an OpenSciEd teacher. In today's video, we will be going over B4 Lesson 3, or as I call it, the rat case study lesson. In this lesson, students will get to model what happens to a population over time with the introduction of a selection pressure and figure out why rat poison will never be 100% effective. In the video, we will be looking at how we got here, lesson at a glance, key moments, and material management tips and tricks. So let's dive in. All right, how we got here. So during lesson 2, we figured out that fragmentation causes selection for heritable traits in hawksbeard, and that's going to favor those non-feathery seeds in urban environments. In this lesson, we're wondering, is poison a selection pressure for rats? Let's see the lesson at a glance. So this is an investigation that will take 3 days. Material preparation is 20 minutes, mostly printing copies and sorting beads by color. It is not a hands-on investigation, does not require devices, and has no additional related videos. Seeing the lesson at a glance, there are 2 sense-making loops here, and let's look at those in more detail. So sense-making loop 1 will take place over day 1. The students are going to start by recalling what they figured out about selection pressures in urban areas. We're going to motivate the rat investigation by looking at some initial data about rat poison resistance in Tokyo. And then we're going to consider the ethical decisions for investigating living things. We'll introduce the rat modeling activity, conduct the rat investigation, and have a quick stop and jot about limitations of using this model. Students are going to figure out that the percentage of rats that were resistant to poison increased after the introduction of warfarin because of the differential survival of the rats. Sense-making loop 2, which will take place over day 2 and day 3, we're going to review the results of the rat model, discuss what we learned from it. Then we're going to have our first building understanding discussion about the mechanisms that are used in the model and any assumptions that we have. We're going to then read about rats, rat reproduction, and the different variations and mutations for poison resistance that are found in Europe. And then we will have a quick reflective writing. Then to the next day, we'll have another building understanding discussion for rat poison as a selection pressure, now that we know more about differential survival depending on the variations in the mutations. We'll revise the rat poison explanation using our new data, and then talk about what we figured out in this lesson. What we're figuring out in this loop is that there are 6 genetic mutations in the VKOR gene in Europe that provide different levels of resistance. This explains why 20% of rats in Tokyo are not resistant, that we still have non-resistant genes. And this leads us to wondering, what is the role of learned behavior in how a population changes over time? So what we're figuring out throughout this entire lesson, that mutations for poison resistance in rats existed before the poison was used, and there are variations in this mutation. This was a big one for my students, figuring out that the mutation was there. It's just the mutation didn't affect the survival of the rats until the selection pressure was introduced. Next, students are going to figure out that there is a high reproduction rate in rats, which then leads to that quick increase in how many rats are resistant compared to non-resistant in the population. And finally, that natural selection for resistance happens over generations, not at the individual level. All right, let's see those key moments that were highlighted earlier. So after having the discussion about selection pressures and what students figured out in lesson 2, we move to part 2, motivate the rat investigation. We're going to be looking at data of rat poison resistance in Tokyo and then comparing that to a historical rat study in Scotland. And we're going to see that the resistant levels were pretty similar, 80% compared to 84%, and that the historical rat study, that high increase of resistance happened after only 2 months, which was always a surprising fact for my students to figure out. And this leads to a question, are the farm rats in Scotland the same as city rats in Japan? Can we compare these 2 populations? In part 4, we're going to introduce the rat modeling activity. This is when we're going to be gathering our beads. We're going to discuss what bead color is going to represent resistant versus non-resistant. Red for non-resistant, red for resistant, and then blue for non-resistant. Colored markers can also be helpful here. I've got a little bit more tips and tricks later on for how to conduct the rat modeling activity. I do like to start by telling my students that we're going to be going through 5 generations of rats reproducing. I find it's helpful for them to see where we're going. And then we discuss what are we looking for in the data that's going to help support evidence or find evidence to answer our question. And the students will talk about, we're looking for changes to the percentage of rats carrying that red, the resistance allele. Part 5 is when students are going to be conducting the rat investigation. As they're conducting the rat investigation, we're going to be listening for some key takeaways. That without the poison, the blue allele has a higher percentage, so those first couple generations. And that when we introduce the poison, now the red allele becomes more frequent very quickly, just within 1 generation. And it leads us to wondering, why would some of the rats with the blue-blue genotype still be found if we know that they're being selected against? In part 8, we have our first building understanding discussion. We'll be gathering into a scientist circle. And again, we're listening for these ideas that when rats reproduce, their genes are shuffled, that there is one allele from the first parent and one allele from the second parent. And then that poison is a selection pressure that is causing the differential reproduction. The rats that are resistant are reproducing more. And that natural selection leads to an increased proportion of rats with resistance. And then what usually gets brought up in the scientist circle is, what about different levels of resistance? Is there a difference between a rat with RR genotype versus BR? And after having that first building understanding discussion, that's when the students are going to read about the different variations of mutations and the differential survival, which will then take us away to part 12, our next building understanding discussion. Again, we'll be gathering into a scientist circle and we'll be discussing how those different mutations have different amounts of VKOR protein activity. And that we can see in one of these graphs here that the Y13NR mutation has a much higher protein activity compared to the other mutations, which leads a lot of students to the hypothesis that this mutation is going to have a lot more resistance than the other mutations, and that over time, more rats are going to have this specific mutation. And then as a class, we will co-construct physiological adaptations. Part 13, students are going to revise their rat poison explanation. This is the time for students to develop their own explanation, make meaning of the evidence that they've gathered throughout this lesson. Some big ideas that students would include in their explanation: that individual genetic mutations cause those physiological advantages. Again, those mutations were there first before the selection pressure. And that over time, the proportion of the mutation is increasing. The ones that are resistant survive, they reproduce more. And so that is one of the reasons why that proportion is going to be increasing. So where do we go from here? Now that we know rat poison is a selection pressure for mutations that rats already had, we wonder, what else do we need to figure out about our class consensus model? And that will lead really nicely into the next case study with the Juncos. All right, material management tips and tricks. I told you I've got some ideas for bead management that I've used. All right, with the rat modeling investigation, I know beads can get very messy, dropping on the floors, rolling around. I've actually found that instead of using a bowl or a cup, if you're able to have some small ice cubes, that's really helped my students to stay organized. But then also, you can substitute with markers. I've done that in the past very successfully, especially if the investigation takes longer than expected, which has happened for me. Using beads, we would have to reset the beads, but if we're using colored markers, then we don't have to reset it. And I do like to provide my students an additional graphic organizer that you can see here, just the first couple generations to get them started of where do you place those beads and what the squares are going to look like. And then I like to emphasize for my students, especially the ones that have experience with Punnett squares, that this is a modeling activity and that these boxes, although they look like Punnett squares and we're treating them a lot like Punnett squares, we're not using it as a probability, but instead what the offspring will actually have as their genotype. And then my students got very into learning how warfarin works, and we explored this together. I really like to connect this back to proteins and mutations and have a little mini discussion of connecting it back to some of the previous lessons that we've had about proteins. All right, personal glossary management. We're going to co-construct physiological adaptations, and then we're going to encounter the word allele. And then we will make sure that we have that class consensus model ready. So if we need to update it, it's there. All right, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that I've been able to give you some great tips and tricks for this lesson and the key takeaways that students figure out. So this lesson, it builds off of selection pressures, and it introduced that mutation existed before the selection pressure, which segues really great into the next lesson, all about the juncos. Thank you, and you got this.